Imagine this. You're on a night flight, 30,000 feet above the Atlantic Ocean. The cabin is quiet, filled with the gentle hum of the engines and the soft breathing of sleeping passengers. Then, suddenly, the captain's voice cuts through the calm, shaking the entire plane. It's not a routine announcement. It's laced with an urgency that makes your blood run cold. If there are any trained pilots on board, please come forward to the cockpit immediately. No explanation, no reassurance, just raw, unfiltered fear spreading through the cabin like a virus. People start looking around, their eyes wide with confusion and terror. You see some people start to pray, their lips moving silently. Others just freeze, paralyzed by the unknown danger. The silence is deafening, heavier than the turbulence that's starting to rock the plane. Then, from row 10, a woman slowly stands up. There's no panic in her eyes, no hesitation, just a quiet resolve. She moves towards the front of the plane, and in that moment, everyone understands. What she knows will decide if the 300 souls on board live or die. Her name was Alina Carter, 29 years old. To everyone else on that flight, she was just another tired passenger, hoodie pulled up, headphones on, a half-read book resting on her lap. She was quiet, almost invisible, blending into the background. But what nobody on that plane knew was the secret she carried. Just 2 years ago, Alina wasn't a passenger. She was a pilot. Not just any pilot, but one of the best, flying F-16 fighter jets for the US Air Force. She'd stared death in the face during intense dogfights, dodged missiles, and completed near-impossible missions in the world's most hostile skies. She was a warrior of the air. But one mission went terribly wrong. A sudden explosion, a split-second mistake, a sky filled with fire and smoke. She made it back, but some of her friends, her squadron mates, didn't. Belay. The weight of that day was a burden she carried every single moment. The guilt, the grief, it was too much. So, Alina walked away from it all. She hung up her flight suit, turned her back on the sky, and promised herself she would never fly again. Or so she thought. Tonight, the sky had other plans. As she approached the cockpit door, the flight attendant's shaking hands let her in. The scene inside was pure chaos. Inside the cockpit, it was a disaster. The autopilot was dead. Violent turbulence was throwing the massive aircraft around like a toy, and the co-pilot, he was slumped over in his seat, unconscious. The captain, a man with decades of experience, was wrestling with the controls, his face pale and beaded with sweat. He was fighting a losing battle against the storm and the failing aircraft. He looked at Alina, his eyes filled with a mix of desperation and relief. The hydraulic systems are failing, he grunted, straining against the yoke. If I black out, this plane goes down. Alina didn't hesitate. All the trauma, all the promises she made to herself, vanished. Her training took over. She strapped herself into the co-pilot seat. Her hands, steady and sure, found the controls. The aircraft screamed in protest as a bolt of lightning ripped through the clouds just outside the cockpit window, momentarily illuminating the terrifying scene. The passengers in the cabin had no idea. They couldn't see the flashing warning lights, couldn't hear the alarms blaring. They just knew they were in a storm. They had no idea their lives were now in the hands of a woman who had sworn she would never fly again. The storm didn't care about fear. It didn't care about her past. The wind howled, and the crosswinds fought to tear the wings right off the plane. More alarms started to sound, hydraulics failing, fuel levels dropping at an alarming rate. Every instinct screamed at her to panic, but Alina stayed calm, ice-cold calm. She remembered the first rule her instructor had drilled into her head years ago. Panic kills pilots. Fly the plane. That's it. Focus on the machine. One system at a time, one decision at a time. So she did. She worked the controls, fighting the storm, her mind a whirlwind of checklists and emergency procedures. Then, through a small break in the thick dark clouds, she saw it, a miracle. The faint, distant glow of runway lights, an emergency airbase, peering out of nowhere in the middle of the ocean. Hope. She grabbed the radio, her voice clear and strong, cutting through the static. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This is Transatlantic Flight 722. Former USAF pilot at the controls, we have an in-flight emergency, requesting immediate landing. For a few agonizing seconds, there was only static in reply. Then, a voice crackled back through the speaker, a beacon in the darkness. Flight 722, you are clear to land. We've got you, too. The runway rushed toward them out of the blackness, a narrow strip of salvation. Alina was completely focused, her entire being concentrated on this one single task, getting this wounded bird onto the ground. Brace for impact. She yelled over the intercom. The plane slammed down onto the tarmac once. Twice, a bone-jarring impact that sent shudders through the entire fuselage. Passengers screamed. Metal groaned. For a terrifying moment, it felt like the plane would break apart. And then, the wheels held. The plane screeched down the runway, finally slowing to a stop. For a moment, there was absolute silence. The silence of survival. Then, the cabin exploded. Tears, prayers, and a thunderous round of applause and cheers. 300 people were alive, 200. Families would not get a devastating phone call that night. All because one woman in row 10 stood up when the captain asked one question. In the aftermath, Alina didn't ask for medals. She didn't talk to the reporters who clamored for an interview with the hero pilot. As soon as the emergency crews took over, she simply picked up her bag, blended back into the crowd of shaken survivors, and walked away, back into her quiet, anonymous life. But row 10, the memory of that empty seat and the woman who had occupied it, that will never be forgotten by the people on that flight. Because sometimes, the hero isn't the one in the spotlight or the one wearing a uniform. Sometimes, they're sitting right next to you, carrying burdens you can't see, and possessing a strength you can't imagine. Day. If this story gave you goosebumps, do me a favor and like this video. If you believe there are hidden heroes walking among us every day, hit that subscribe button. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were on that flight at 30,000 feet? Thanks for watching.